Dead Rising 4 has been getting quite a bit of heat leading up to its release. Longtime fans have expressed numerous concerns that Frank West's big return has seen too many changes and might not feel like a proper entry in the series anymore. As a fan myself, I went in with an open mind, and after laying waste to about 25,000 zombies, I can say that I definitely had a good time with Dead Rising 4 overall, but I also can't wholeheartedly recommend it either. 15 years after his first encounter with the undead, Frank West is dragged back to Willamette to solve the mystery behind yet another outbreak. Like most games in the series, the overall narrative is silly and kinda dumb, but also strangely engaging. The biggest change fans will notice immediately is Frank himself. While his first game portrayed him as a somewhat goofy everyman that once covered wars, this Frank West is cocky, egotistical, and kinda selfish, spouting bad jokes and one-liners at every opportunity. The leap in time and some backstory can certainly explain his new behavior, but Frank is definitely less likable here than he once was. One other important thing to note is the story's abrupt conclusion. The overtime mode, a series staple that typically acted as an epilogue containing the true ending, is completely absent and will supposedly be sold later as paid DLC, which can be described as nothing more than total, unacceptable bullshit. In the broadest of ways, the gameplay of Dead Rising 4 is what you'd expect. Large hordes of zombies clutter the streets, and you use whatever tools at your disposal to dispatch them. There's a wide array of melee, ranged, and thrown weapons to help you accomplish this task, with various creative combo weapons being far and away the most effective. To help you get around, the combo vehicles introduced in Dead Rising 3 return, which let you easily decimate massive crowds of walkers on your way to your objectives, which is still as satisfying as it's always been. Human enemies are also common encounters, but they're almost as brain-dead as the zombies and are typically dispatched just as easily. And photography returns, letting you take pictures whenever you please, including selfies, which are honestly pretty entertaining to mess with. Now let's go over all the things that have been changed in this installment. There are no longer any timers on missions, the story is linear with no multiple endings, survivors don't need to be escorted to safety when rescued. Instead of one shared inventory, different weapon types and healing items all have separate ones. Psychopaths have been removed, replaced by maniac fights that get no special introduction and are defeated easily. Frank starts off pretty overpowered and only becomes more so as you level up and add to his skill tree, which you do at a rapid pace, making the game lack pretty much any challenge. And adding to Frank's power level are the new exosuits found around the map, which pretty much make you a god when equipped, especially when augmented with additional modifiers. The abundance of streamlining is clearly meant to help Dead Rising 4 appeal to a wider audience. And while the game is still fun to play overall, the complete lack of challenge and the removal of various elements that gave the series its identity do make the whole thing feel less unique and engaging. Dead Rising 4 is also somewhat unpolished, with graphical oddities and bugs being somewhat common. Most of these are harmless, even humorous, with only the occasional bug getting in the way of the gameplay, like a car getting stuck in the ground. Thankfully, if you do encounter some issue that prevents progress, the game has an incredibly generous checkpoint system, so you'll never need to repeat more than a few minutes of gameplay to get back to where you were. Finally, there's the multiplayer. While campaign co-op has been inexplicably removed, in its place is a 4-player cooperative/competitive mode featuring side characters. You complete a handful of brief objectives together while also trying to get the best individual score in categories like hit combos and zombies killed, before making your way back to a safe house in brief runs. Like the rest of the game, this mode lacks a certain amount of polish, with some lobbies hanging for a long time and players, even zombies alike, can be seen teleporting around the environment depending on the connection. It's a decent distraction if you want to play Dead Rising 4 with some buddies, but I don't see many people returning to it after a session or two. I'm conflicted about Dead Rising 4. Undeniably, I had a good time with the game overall. It's hard not to have fun mowing down zombie hordes in most situations, and some of the streamlining does make sense to me, like the inventory system, but I also can't deny that a lot of what makes Dead Rising has either been stripped out entirely or streamlined into oblivion. It's also the easiest game I've played all year, hands down, and overall lacks polish. If they do continue the series, I'd like to see maybe 2 separate modes, one for casuals and one for those who prefer the classic style, so that they don't alienate one group entirely in favor of the other. I don't know. If you're a Dead Rising purist, you probably have already written off the game and are avoiding it like the plague, and I can't really blame you. So originally I was going to recommend Dead Rising 4 to anyone looking for mindless, fun zombie murder, but once I found out that the overtime mode, the true ending of the game, something that has been in the series from the very beginning, was going to be locked behind a paywall, I just can't in good conscience do that anymore. So, if you are looking for just a mindless, fun zombie killing time, I still would recommend the game, but only at sale price. Dead Rising 4 gets a 6 out of 10.